Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for October 16th, 2024. Well, my goodness, yesterday was quite the roller coaster ride. After ASML came out early on their report showing major declines in chips, and boy, it really had a nasty effect on the NASDAQ, and we really started to pull back yesterday with some earnest as that, and by the way, that kind of translated around the world last night. So how about we take a look at what happened around the world last night? First off, Asian markets mostly lower. Shanghai was just a little bit higher last night, a 0.05 a move, or $1.66 to the upside, while Hong Kong was down a 0.16. India was down 0.34. South Korea was down. We see the Nikkei down 1.83%, and Australian markets were also down 0.41%. If we take a look at European markets this morning, they are mostly lower. We have the DAX down 0.31%, the CAC is down 0.62%, and the FTSE is up 0.57%, with a little bit of back and forth going on in there. If we take a look at U.S. futures, right now we have Dow futures looking just a tiny bit lower at 0.04%, but we're trying to hold on to some bullishness and get some hopeful rebound here on the S&P 500 at 0.03% and the NASDAQ 0.09%. So a lot of uncertainty facing the market this morning. If we take a look at oil prices here this morning, we have oil continuing to stay a little bit on the weak side. What we had is the Israel tell the United States that there was not going to be an attack on any of the oil facilities. That eased some of the pressures here, but also the bad numbers that came out of China on Monday added to those demand worries, really driving oil lower yesterday. And this morning, we've got oil futures down just slightly by 50 cents at 70.08 a barrel, and Brent down 52 cents at 73 a barrel. Natural gas had a little bit of a bounce up, bounce down, and ended up closing lower yesterday, and it is moving lower again this morning, down just ever so slightly, about a penny and a half. If we were to take a look at gold markets here this morning, or precious metals markets, gold had a really good day yesterday, and gold this morning is pushing higher once again. Right now, gold futures are up $12.10 an ounce, pushing to the upside, and as you can see, if we were to open up in here, we could open at a new record high here in gold. Silver is moving up this morning as well. Copper has been moving down. If we take a look at FCX, that hasn't been doing well, and COPX, they haven't been doing all that well, moving in a slight downtrend. But copper's trying to bounce up a little bit this morning. Platinum and palladium are trying to move back up just slightly this morning as well. So those precious metals trying to come back here. And one of the things that's kind of interesting is precious metals are really kind of showing us that there is some concern overall in the market. If we take a look at our crypto markets here today, well, we've got Bitcoin, which bounced around quite a bit yesterday, but right now Bitcoin is looking bullish here this morning. Pushing up, we are $869 a coin up on Bitcoin this morning, or 1.3%. Ether is up $27 a coin at 1.07%, and mostly bullish on those cryptos here this morning. If we take a look at our bonds this morning, our bond yields are easing here just a little bit on the 2-year. Our 2-year bonds are coming in at 3.93%. The 10-year has fallen back just a little bit at 4.01%. And the 30-year has dropped, I think, 3 ticks to 4.30%. So we're easing a little bit on that. And as a result, we're likely to see the dollar ease a little bit. Right now, the dollar is showing that possibility of opening just a little bit higher, but we've got some concerns here in the market. As I continue to say, something's going to have to break. Either it's the bond market or it's the stock market. So we'll want to watch that pretty carefully. Both of them rising at the same time, seeing a lot of strength in the U.S. dollar, is not exactly a sign of comfort for the market. And right now, I'm seeing the U.S. dollar futures are up 27 cents. So we'll have to keep an eye on that today, because something is going to have to give here eventually. Let's take a look. Well, I guess that's it. How about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hope everyone had a great evening. Hope everyone got a chance to get out and see the comet. I could show you a picture or two if you're interested in that, but let's take a look at how we might approach the market for today. With this uncertainty that came in yesterday, there is certainly some pensiveness that we're going to have to deal with here with that little bit of selling, although we remain very bullish in our charts. So looking at the diamonds, this is still a very bullish chart. There's just no doubt about it. We're still holding on to trend, no particular worries there. We're still holding on to support, no particular worries there. The question is going to be how we follow through with yesterday's candle. If we were to follow through with yesterday's candle to the downside, we got a little bit of support right in here that could catch us as we come into that trend. Where the worry would actually really begin to pick up is if we were to break back down through that area. That would raise some concern in the market. And if we did, the next area of price support is going to be somewhere right down in here. So let's watch carefully for that if those bears were able to follow through to the downside today. There's no reason to believe that they will. There's no reason to believe that they can't. As well, so we'll have to watch that pretty closely. Now, if the bulls were to find inspiration today, what do we have in store? Well, you can see if we could push back up, first thing we're going to need to do is break through that candle. If we can break through that candle, then we're probably no problem with the idea of pushing back up here and testing all-time highs. Remember, we can still have that possibility where we just kind of rest sideways here for a little bit out to trend before we make that decision whether we're going to push on higher or move down. So a pensive market, sometimes we might just do better with a little bit of rest. If we take a look at our T21, no, let's not do that yet. How about we take a look at our SPY, our SPY. Same situation here where we've got a pretty good level of price support in here, and we've got a good area of trend to be paying attention to. And if those bears were to find any additional inspiration to push down, you can see a break below this area right here could cause a little bit of worry. Pushing back through here, we'd probably come down into this area of price support, testing that trend and possibly even this area of support. Where fear would really come into the market is if we fell beyond that point. There'd be some really big worries, I think, starting to come up if that were the case. But I want you to notice, if that were the case, we still got a really good area of price support in here on the SPY that could hold us for a potential bounce back. Now, if the bulls were to find inspiration today, well, you can see what we need to do is we need to get up here and get past that bearish engulfing candle. That's a pretty ugly candle on the day, and we're going to need to get back up through there, and then we've got blue skies above. And I think there's every reason to believe that is certainly possible as well. If we take a look at the QQQ, another nasty little bearish engulfing candle. We tried to push up and push out in the pre-market. We wanted to try and get above this area in the chart so we could maybe try to attack the all-time highs. But that ASML report really put the brakes on that pretty quick, and we started to roll over. And as you can see, breaking back through this area is going to be important. First, we're going to have to pop back up through here to get up into that area, and then of course we've got this little white candle in here. We're going to have to start pushing up through the bottom of that up into that area, and of course it's certainly possible that that could occur. We'll just need to see once we do that, then we have that chance of testing all-time highs in the Qs. The big question is, what's the follow-through going to be today? And if the follow-through were to the downside, if the bears are inspired, you can see we have a little level right through here, right there. And if the bears were to push on down through here, that's going to raise a little bit of concern, I think, in the market. We do have some additional areas of price support in here. As we push on down, you can see that would translate right over into here. And then we've got these support levels right in here. And of course, our upside trend could come into play as very, very important, holding us in this range of the market. Now, breaking down below there is where we're likely going to raise some fear in the QQQ, but we'll see. That's a long ways down there. We've got a lot of work to do before we get down there. The bears would have to really engage a lot more than they have recently. So watch that carefully. It may just be some kind of a resting, consolidating pullback back here to trend as well. No particular worries on that. If we take a look at our IWM, IWM had a good day yesterday, and then right at the end of the day, we started to fade back a little bit. You can see we're getting a pump up here in the pre-market on IWM. Of course, the next target up here would be to break through that resistance here and then start stretching up toward these 2021 highs. See if we can get up into there if those bulls can get going. And of course, if those bears were to find that inspiration and key off of this resistance area with that, shooting star right there, if this were to follow through to the downside here, that could push us back down into some support. But it wouldn't be bearish, because you can see breaking this downtrend here, a resting pullback in here that holds a higher low still is bullish, so we'd have to watch that pretty closely. It would be breaking down below those levels that would raise some major fear in the Russell. Let's take a look at our VIX. Now, our VIX struggled around here yesterday, but as the selling intensified, we saw that VIX rise just a little bit. We're back up there, 20.5 handles on the VIX. Clearly, there's a little bit of uncertainty here when we look at the VIX like this. A little bit of uncertainty. Now, if the bears were to follow through to the downside today, if we were to see some fear creep up, well, you can see this next resistance area here is what we're going to be looking at. You could even translate that a little bit right across over here. See how that ties all of these candles together here? And we'll want to watch that pretty carefully on that. If that were to move that direction, if the bears are inspired and we push on through up here, that creates that higher low in the VIX, and that's usually where real selling can come into play. So we'll have to watch pretty carefully on that. Now, if the bulls were to find inspiration, if we're able to hold this area, then what we need to see on those bulls is we need to see them push this back down and break that support here in that chart. And that would relieve some of that fear and pressure. And of course, we're really going to need those bonds to kind of go along and do something here to break that pressure as well, because that has been kind of a nasty little circumstance here for our market. If we take a look at our T20s, our T21-22 relieved a little pressure yesterday, pulling back. Not so much as to be, we certainly didn't see panic here in that pullback. Just a little bit of a resting pullback from that overbought area of the market. So if the bulls find inspiration today, we did open up an opportunity for that rebound back to the upside. But if the bears find a reason to engage, we still have a pretty big downside opportunity. So keep that in mind. Remember, as I said yesterday, it would be wise when we're up here to be raising those stops and being prepared for that potential pullback. I had no idea that we were going to get an ASML news that was going to do that and push us down. But hopefully you can understand why it's important to pay attention to T21-22 when we are overextended. We need to start preparing for that possibility of that push back down. It doesn't have to be a full-on reversal. It can be a little bit, nothing more than a little bit of profit taking that can start pushing that back down from an overbought area. If we take a look at our T21-08, the percentage of stocks above the 40-day moving average, we had a little pullback yesterday. Nothing in here suggests we're running in panic, that the bears are really taking over. You can see we're holding above our 50% area in here, but it is maybe a condition for worry. If those bears were able to follow through to the downside today, that could be telling. Right now, I wouldn't say that is the case. We've got a fairly confident market with earnings to inspire. So they're going to try and hold in here pretty strongly, despite the fact that we had those really ugly numbers in manufacturing yesterday, brutal numbers. If we take a look at T21-07 also pulled back a little bit yesterday, but once again, not catastrophic. Nothing in here says we're at imminent danger of failure. As a matter of fact, it shows that the bulls are still predominantly in control here in the market. And if we take a look at our T21-01, this might be a little bit of concern here, because on that selling wave, we actually saw the breadth of the market pick up. So we struggled to pick it up on the buy waves, on the bullish moves. But as we were selling, we saw that breadth pick up here. That may embolden those bears here, so we'll have to watch that closely. Again, it's about the follow-through today. One day does not make a trend. It's about the follow-through that's going to make the difference. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar, our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, we've got a few things to be paying attention to. As you can see, we've got mortgage applications here this morning, and they have already come in with a big disappointment. Again, those bonds are creating problems here in the market. The bond market is in disagreement right now with the stock market, and you can see that's had a major impact of weekly demand in mortgages falling hard. So keep a close eye on that. That's not really a good sign. Again, we need to either see that bond market start to ease up, or we're likely to see the market itself start easing up. If we take a look at import-export prices here today, they're looking for a negative 0.3 here, staying flat on our import prices here this morning. They're looking for export prices to come in at a 0.4, which is a little negative 0.4, which is a little bit of improvement over the negative 0.7, but keep an eye on that today as well. Easily these numbers could miss, so watch carefully in here. And then we've got a bill auction going off, and that's going to be pretty much the end of the day with the Treasury buyback results number in here. But we're going to be thinking pretty soon, really soon. We're going to be thinking about what happens here tomorrow. Jobless claims, retail sales, Philly Fed, industrial production, business inventories, housing market index. We've got both the natural gas and the petroleum status in here tomorrow. So a big day with some more Fed speak from Goolsbee. We've got some bond auctions and Treasury International, along with the Fed balance sheet that we typically ignore. But tomorrow morning could be a pretty big day in economic numbers that could move us around quite a bit. So be watchful for that. Then let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. Now our earnings calendar is starting to ramp up. We're starting to get busy. So I'm going to run through the morning reports here. I'm going to ask you guys to click the link below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog so you can catch the afternoon reports, because I just really will not have enough time to cover everything here this morning. We've got Abbott Labs that will be reporting here today. It looks like just a tiny bit lower here, but I'm not sure that report has been out. Of course, ASML was supposed to be today. That went yesterday, and you can see it's gapping down this morning, but trying to push just a little bit higher here in the pre-market. Keep an eye on that. DFG will be reporting today. That is not the right symbol. I've got just a second here. I seem to have a ticker wrong. Yes, I do. This is CFG. Typo. So CFG will be reporting today. Let me get that fixed here in my blog while we're talking. So CFG, and a little bit lower here on CFG this morning. We got FHN that will be reporting this morning. We're going to hear from Morgan Stanley here today. Keep an eye on that. We've got OFG that will be reporting today. PLD is on that list. We've got U.S. Bancorp in here reporting, and WAFD that will be reporting this morning. So after the bell, we have quite a few like Alcoa, Steel Dynamics, Kinder Morgan, things like that, CCI. But to, again, click the link just below the title of the video. That'll take you back to the morning blog where you can get that full list of notables. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, well, you know the drill. Click that subscribe button on YouTube. Also click the bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful to your day, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. Remember, everyone, even an emoji counts. But if you have a question or something I can help you with, feel free to put it there. I try to answer those all. So please feel free to drop those notes on the channel. That really helps the channel to grow. And thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. Let's take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up. And remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Follow your trading rules, your risk tolerances. Never, ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. So first off, I placed another alert on Roku yesterday. Roku, nice little resting consolidation. We did pop back up through. We broke this down in here, popped back up, and we're holding up in this area here. So watching that closely. Good bullish move yesterday. Watching for that opportunity that Roku might be able, on a bullish day, be able to push right up through here and see some new highs in Roku. And if we pull this back, what's important about this is that possibility this thing could fill the gap. That's a pretty good upside move, could be possible, just to fill this gap over here in Roku. So keep an eye on that. CPNG continues to hold in this pattern. Had a little bit of fade yesterday with everything else, but I think as long as we can hold on to this support, I would be watching for that potential, that continued consolidation out here. I'd be looking for that opportunity for that to move into the upside. Gilead had a really good day yesterday, pushing up. This was a little bit of a hesitation move, and this is something I try to teach all the time. You got to be careful when a stock moves ahead of its trend. When it goes up ahead of its trend, it will often find that way to just rest back. And that's what we did. We came back into the trend here, came back, we found those buyers right in here, and now we're starting to see that push to the upside. Watch that carefully. Gilead's looking pretty good overall. Shopify is still in that nice bullish pattern. Had a little selling come in there yesterday, as most everything did. If we can hold on in here and we can find that bullish inspiration today, then look for that opportunity that may pop and continue to move to the upside. And you can see, if it can, we've got a gap in here. There's a pretty sizable gap right in here that could be filled all the way up into here for a nice potential move. So keep an eye on Shop, looking pretty good overall. Pinterest continues to look very good. Kind of squeezed out of this trend, this little consolidation, but then that uncertainty in the market, we just kind of came back to it. Came back to the trend. I'd be watching in here for that next opportunity for that to push on higher. Still looking pretty good. You know, Mickey D's, it got going here. There's that pattern again, a nice little resting pattern. Boom, got the pop. Nice follow through yesterday. I would not be surprised to see a little bit of rest in here on this, but keep an eye on that. If the bulls get going, there's every reason to believe that could continue on up. We've got blue skies above here in Mickey D's, and that is a very bullish, nice looking pattern. Now, I picked up a little piece of CLF yesterday, and you could look at Steel Dynamics, you can look at Nucor. All of those are looking pretty good. I chose to go in here on CLF. I didn't want a big position because something's not jiving here. Typically, we do not see the dollar race to the upside and see bullish commodities like steel, but we are seeing that right now. So I keep thinking maybe those bonds are going to break, and if those bonds break and we start to see the dollar weaken, I would look at stocks like CLF to move up. Just kind of took a nibble in here, not getting too excited about it just yet. I'd like to see a little bit more of that energy in here and like to see a little bit more of those bonds relieving pressure for that to push up. But if you take a look at Nucor also in that kind of pattern. Steel Dynamics in that pattern, but you will want to make note Steel Dynamics is going to report earnings today, and that certainly could have a positive or negative effect on all of these steel plays. So keep an eye on that here for the day. Let's take a look at some of the big tech out there. Take a look at AMD. AMD having a really bad day yesterday, and what's unfortunate about this is we dropped through that trend. We rallied a little bit to test this area of price resistance, and then kapow, we dropped through the next level of price support. So with this pressure that's starting to show in here, if we look at AMD, AMD is starting to show us that little bit of a downtrend here in that chart. We broke back down through our 200-day. I would not be at all surprised to see a retest of the 50. The question is, if that 50-day moving average does hold, then we're probably in good shape. If it fails to hold, that's where we could have some major problems. So you can see just giving up this upside trend and that slip right here, adding some worries and pressure here to AMD. Now, Apple had a good day going with its announcement of its new iPad mini yesterday, and it was really taking off. It came up here, caught a new record high just by a tick or two, caught a new record high, and then that ASML number came out, and well, we started to sell back off. Big old shooting star pattern here. What's going to matter here is the follow through. If this just rests and goes sideways or starts to push back up, that shooting star means nothing. If for some reason the bears were able to push this down and add to that bearish pattern and a possibility of a double top, that would be important to be paying attention to. So keep an eye on that. Remembering there's still a lot of hope and hype on this, that earnings here on the 31st are going to carry this a lot higher. We'll see if the sales, if the consumer is strong enough that that new phone is getting those sales really going here or not. So be kind of careful here on Apple. Take a look at GLW. GLW in a nice bullish pattern. But yesterday, doggone it, we were setting up in here. We had that big old bearish engulfing candle come in with that ASML report, pulling back. If we can hold right in this area and push right back up, I think we're okay. What's going to matter, though, is if this were to follow through to the downside, that could really raise some concerns, and maybe we'll be done here in GLW for just a little bit as we wait here again on those earnings and whether or not all of these devices that Corning provides glass for are selling as everyone hopes they are. So keep an eye on that. So with that, everyone, there's a few stocks for you to pay attention to. I want to wish you all a productive and profitable day. Thank you so much for being here today. And thanks for the support of the channel. I truly appreciate it. I want to wish you all the very best, and I will see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Take care.